This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be breaking down the most intuitive of all the 16 types, the INFP. I do think if you want to be king, you have to get these people on your side. Um, my best friend is an INFP. I call her the Nima, right? I have Cody. If you don't know that's the prime minister. That's my prime minister there. I got Datum as well. That's my warden in the Discord group. If you get out of line in the Discord, he will get you the fuck out of there. We also like Leon. All right, he's also been a great friend of mine as well as an INFP. And Christian's got his dad. So Christian, anything you want to say before we get into this?
Yeah, for myself, I got an INFP father, so you already know I'm coming with the stories and the insight. So stay tuned. Don't click off this video because we're going to give you all the best information possible. Okay?
And never forget, we are the MBTI content killers. When you click on a video of Mercy and Christian, it's a one-stop shop. Okay, one take Drake. That's all you need to do. Watch this video, and you will master INFPs.
Well, don't call it one take Drake because you got to watch it not once, not twice, but 3 times. You already know the deal. Let's get it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, who are the INFP, right? If I had to think of 4 characters for the INFP, I have Hinata from Naruto, Yugi Moto, right? Yugi Moto from the original Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Not Adam, but
Not to be confused with Yami, the Pharaoh, the real Yugi.
this is the real Yugi, the one who ends up beating the Pharaoh at the end of the show at him, okay? And then you got Nagato, okay? Everybody remember Almighty Push, okay? And just, basically fucking up everything, okay? Nagato was the man. And then this guy made me want to, when I watched this anime, it made me want to go play basketball again. Kiriko, okay? Awesome show.
From Kuroko no Basket, one of my favorite characters. Great INFP, always, in the shadows, making plays for the team.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. So we're going into this from the holistic view, right? The INFPs have an inner core of values that they got, their interactions and decisions, right? So these people are going to be continually weighing the situation's worth or importance for everything, okay? That's what they do. This is what FI is all about. They always know how they feel about something, okay? They can't stop that. They have this rich inner world, right? They are the opposite of me, right? They have this rich inner world while I don't have this rich inner world, right? We have the opposites of what's going on. ENTJs have to work on getting to that rich inner world, and they have to work on being more productive. Okay, and we'll be talking about that. Okay, priority goes to clarifying their values and living in congruence with them. INFPs always try to live utmost to who they are, the authenticity. That's who they are. Okay, these people are. They may not share it with you because not a lot of INFPs just outright just share with anybody. But if you're close to them and they actually value you, you can't get them to shut up, right? And I call Nima, I can't get her to shut up. Sometimes I can't get off the goddamn phone. But she's helped me a lot, when it comes to developing my FI. Okay,
It's funny that you say that because my dad, if you were to meet him, you would say, "Oh, he's a quiet guy. He's a quiet guy." But at the house, he used to talk so much. My mom used to be like, "William, when are you gonna be quiet?" Da, 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 da. So Mercer's 100% correct on that.
Okay, so they feel things deeply, right? Whether it's their emotions or outer emotions, they feel these things deeply. Okay, um, like they're constantly checking the internal value system. Always, this is just there. Um, they always want to understand who they are and their purpose in the world. High focus on what could be, right? They always have some sense of integrity and wholeness, right? That's their journey of life. INFPs are likely to be idealistic, caring, concerned, curious, creative, thoughtful, very soft spoken. When I hear that soft spoken voice, it's like, oh God, I know I'm dealing with a background type, right? INFPs really have a very soft spoken and introspective. Like I said, I think they're the most intuitive of all the types with SC Trickster and FI Hero. Okay, that's gonna cause them to just be inside so much
Mm-hmm.
of themselves. Okay, and INFPs enjoy reading, discussing, and reflecting on possibilities for positive change in the future, right? They're going to be big global interests, like what's in the best for the world, okay? How can I move the world forward? How can we implement some big change for the world? That's going to be where they're the most happiest. So you'll see a lot of these people into politics if you're not aware. There's a lot of INFPs into that, and they are making social change because that's what they care about, okay? What they value, they want your ass to value. Okay, Nima has this problem where she thinks everything that she values, I must value, and it never works that way. They are curious about ideas and quick to see connections in meetings. That's going to be with that any are adaptable and flexible until you violate their inner values. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You violate their inner values, they might be done talking to you. You may never hear it from them again. You know, you might get ghosted. Like Nima said, "Don't make me ghost you."
Or in my dad's case, we didn't raise you to be like that. We didn't raise you to be like that. That's what he used to tell me. And I was like, well, And my grandma used to describe him as a saint. Oh, William is a saint, and my aunt too. So, it's all about that value system.
Yeah. I mean, they live congruent with that. I mean, I do feel like Nima is an angel,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll keep fucking up her life. So, value relationship based on depth, authenticity, true connection, and mutual growth. Okay, that's what's going to be important to them when it comes to relationships. Okay, go ahead, Christian.
All right. So INFPs seek to understand people and to help them fulfill their potential, thrive on healing conflicts within and between, and taking people to the center of themselves. Now, because I had a unique relationship, a father-son relationship, I could definitely relate to that because my dad was the one who got me into wrestling, even though he is not a martial artist or anything like that, knows nothing about that world. He kind of gave me the option of trying wrestling out, and it definitely helped me out. So he's responsible for that. Nearly oblivious to the details of daily living. This I could describe as like, for example, my dad lives in a vegan household, but he doesn't really know like how many calories he's consuming or how much protein he should eat. He just eats what's given to him or available. So he's kind of oblivious to those things, so I could kind of relate to that as well as somebody growing up with an INFP in the household. They're seldom aggressive and not especially ambitious, except when it comes to their own projects, about which they can be surprisingly protective and in which they will work tirelessly for. My father is an artist, so he's a graphic designer. He has a lot of talent, but not a lot of ambition. So a lot of times I get mad at him. I'm like, if you only realize your talent, you could do so much. But he's kind of just chill and comfortable. So he's like, I just work on my projects and I sell them here and there. I'm like, you should charge more. That's what I think. But so yeah, INFPs are natural counselors. They can actively listen, the longest of all types. They want to help others enjoy who they are, accept themselves, and believe in themselves. So, I feel like you could speak to my father about everything, and he's going to be open-minded, basically, in the moment. He's going to give you the best advice that he could give you. He's an active listener. And he definitely wants to help. That's why my grandma used to call him a saint. That's what my aunt, and my cousin call him a saint, They're very selective and share their true selves with only a few very special people. They dress for comfort and they have an apparent lack of organization. Takes a long time to make decisions. When we go to formal events, we have to remind my father, like, hey, don't dress for comfort. This is a formal event. Dress yourself up for the event. We have to remind him of that. If not, he'll go in a t-shirt or something. So we got to be mindful of that. They often struggle with structure. They can express forever, trying to get their lives in order. Okay, go ahead.
So when we go to that last part there, trying to express getting their lives in order, right? Because they got such a tight net on what's inside, they struggle with outside, right? As in the ENTJ does the opposite. They don't struggle with getting things outside. They struggle with the inside, right? Those inside demons, right? That's why we always got to be chasing achievements and whatnot. Because that's what makes us feel important. As in an INFP, they just feel important because they have worked on that inner world. So a big thing to say about INFPs is like they often feel like misfits in society or odd, right? They often feel like they don't fit in. My best friend always is telling me that, like, oh, I don't fit in this world, like, and I always fuck with her. I'm like, don't you know in heaven that the INFPs rule? Just that's what I tell her all the time. Like, don't you know, in heaven INFPs rule because it could be very hard to live in this world, especially being an FI hero, right? Because
Mhm.
the truth is the people in the world are so in tune with themselves and what they're doing that they don't really give a damn about how you feel, okay? And those people who are more sensitive to outwardly or expressions or things like that can really find it very hard, especially when this work cares about your inferior function. So
Right.
like that can be
Right.
very tough for you.
Yeah, like
Um,
achievements, titles, and stuff like that. Basically, if you're not a person of importance, people don't really care about how you feel inside. Even if you are 100%, you know, feeling good about where you're at and like who you are and your values, people don't really care unless you are that person of importance. I think that's what Mercer's trying to get at, you know?
Okay, and another thing is like INFPs are like one of the most open-minded, right, and open-hearted of the personality types. They really care about being open and listening to anything. And when it comes to listening, Dario Nardi has clocked them as being the longest for actively listening to people. They actually go into flow when they're listening to people. So I figured that was also very important to say. They often ramble when they're talking because of that extroverted intuition there in that second slot. So they could be rambly.
Hmm.
We'll get into more of that.
That's funny because
Um,
my dad never gets to the point. We got to tell him, get to the point. Get to the point. All right, go ahead. Go
uh,
ahead.
So, how do you identify an INFP, right? They are informative, right? So that rambling, can't get to the point, talk around, like Datum, when we're in the server, he sends a text, and I'm like, bro, what the fuck is this cryptic shit, man? I'm uh, like I know the people on the server can't tell you INFP, but I can with this cryptic shit, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, it just they just beat around the bush. They take a more passive role. They don't want to stir the pot too much. They may give you a lot of information and present choices to you with that any parent, right? They are outcome focused, right? Background type are thirsty for that outcome. Like they are perfectionists with the outcome, right? Because they
Hmm.
kind of blend the process and outcome together.
Hmm.
This can make the INFP seem it can make them you know, lose progress, right? Because they're just trying to make everything perfect, right? So they'll just at points just
Start.
totally not make any progress at all.
They'll make some progress and start over because it's not. Oh no, maybe if I change the art style or I change the shading or you know what I mean. That's outcome. Hmm.
Right. So also they're affiliative, right? So they care about doing the right thing. They care about inclusion. They're interdependent. They're about cooperation, right? Bringing people together. The type of intelligence that INFPs have is diplomatic intelligence, right? And that's about building bridges between people, bringing people together, making people feel heard, healing
Hmm.
people. Okay, so that's going to be more what the INFP does, right? Like I said earlier, if you want to be king, these are the people that make you king, okay? Um, their interest, right? So the interest for them is global interest, right? They're more into like the big picture, like what's in the interest of all people. And I've noticed no matter whenever they talk about something or doing something, they're always breaking down somebody else's like motive, right? They're always attacking the motive, like, oh, okay, this person's doing this because of that, right? As opposed to somebody like myself, I'm completely blind to that and I don't really care about that, right? Because I like systems, right? What does the system say? With the motive, I'm like a lot of times I'm blind to it. Um, They're abstract because they think about what could be, what's that utopia they could bring to humanity. If only I could save people, right? My best friend said that crap. I just want to save everybody, right? They're responding. They're one of the most introverted of all the types, right? They rather you come to them than they come to you.
Mhm.
But if they value you, they can and will come to you. Okay. Um,
Yeah, in the talking about abstraction, the other day I was having a conversation with my dad, and he's like, "Oh, what if I don't know why people care so much about credit score? Like that shouldn't be a thing, right?" So he was talking about like a possible reality where like interest rates weren't a thing, so that people could get access to financing, and it was more of a cooperative type of world. And I'm like, well, that's dumb. I thought that's dumb because then, like, you got to assess who you're giving money to. It's like, no, it shouldn't be that way. He wants everything to be like a utopia
idealistic.
and an
Idealistic.
idealistic world. Exactly. And I had to explain to him,
He's
like,
thinking
no,
about the global interest. He's thinking about affiliative, and he's thinking about outcome. And he's being abstract.
yeah. And I told him
And,
the first thing I'm going to do if I rent out a place to somebody is check their credit score. That's what I told him.
I mean, that's probably one of the best metrics overall,
Yeah.
to see, like, where's a person at, okay?
Hmm.
Because they got a good credit score, they ain't trying to fuck that up. It
Hmm.
is what it is, and it takes time to build it up. So here we got the cognitive functions here. Um, as somebody requested to ask me what is that picture behind, right? So this is from John Beebe. The hero and the inferior are the spine of the personality, right? And the backward spine of the shadow is the opposing in the demon, right? That's the spine of the personality, right? And then you have your arms of the personality, which are the parent and the child. And the shadows is the critic and the trickster. Okay, so Chris, you want me to go through this, or you?
I guess I could go through the first couple and then you go through the other ones.
Uh,
So let's start with FI Hero. So, like we mentioned before in the previous slides, it's all about inner harmony. It's all about the inner value system, feeling good about you being congruent with your identity and your values, authenticity. Right. This is in their hero spot. This is their most important one to them.
Goku. It's the Goku.
Is the Goku, right? So then we have any parent in the second spot, right? This is their ability to give possibilities to other people. This is my dad giving me wrestling as a possibility, or identifying patterns, connections, and opportunities on a global scale as well, like Mercer mentioned, right? Creating that utopia, what's possible. Then we have SI Child. If you've watched our other videos, we've talked about SI Child. It's about recalling experiences and stabilizing. But what happens is that you can start to get comfortable in your own comfort, right? So it can create a state of inaction. It can create a state of just, staying stable and safe. Okay. Now, Mercer, if you want to go for the next ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I'll just like hammer a little bit more on some of those. So like the any parent, right? The INFP really care about always having open mind to everything, right? That's their bread and butter. They never want to see like they're closed minded. A lot of times they may say, "I don't like closed minded people," right? Because that's that any parent and I critic they're slapping people around with that. And then the SI child, like they really care about their experience, right? Um, that's how they connect to things, right? Because that SE trickster, they're not aware of things that are around them, right? They like that familiarity. They like to nostalgic with things. Like my best friend loves talking about the goddamn past. I'm like, yo, I'm about to get off the phone. You keep talking about this shit. But like she loves to like talk about stuff that happened in the past. Like she's just happy. She turns into like a fucking child with that shit. Okay, so I'll get into T inferior. Okay, at times, the measured and rational character of T may cause INFPs to be mistaken as thinking types, right? So you'll see like some of the INFPs online, because of their T inferior and developing that T inferior, they can seem like a very thinking type, right? Because they close off themselves to people. Like only a very select few people really understand them. But if you got them on a video call, you'd easily be easily able to identify the INFP. and with that TE inferior, they can be attracted to sciences. Like my best friend, she's in the science field. But I'll give you a rundown of that. Like when I first met her, I was just watching this motherfucker. I was like, this motherfucker don't know what she's doing. Because I just knew she was just doing it. I just knew she was doing it, but she didn't know like the underlying principles behind what she was doing. And then one day I called her out. She was like, "How did you know?" I was like, "You winged motherfucker."
Really?
She's like, "Nothing escapes you." And I'm like, "Nothing does escape me, motherfucker." Um, the big thing about T and fear is they struggle with verbally asserting themselves in a measured, deliberating way on their opinions and their values, right? It's very hard for them to voice their opinion, right? It's kind of annoying sometimes because um, I may ask like Cody or something like how he feels about something or what he thinks about something, and he won't even fucking respond, right?
Right.
And I'm like, bro, I'm asking you because I value your damn opinion, right? If I don't ask people that I don't value opinion, right? So I think you got some brain in your head, right? Because I don't just ask anybody. Mercy will never. If I think you stupid, you will know that I think you fucking stupid because I will never ask you a damn thing. It would
Mm.
just be Mercy just acting on his own. So if I ask you for your opinion on something, that means I actually value it, right? So, but INFPs really struggle with getting that out. That could be a big thing for them. They struggle to put their feet down and say what they think. Instead of expressing their concerns directly, they often do so more passively, such through a combination of hints, leading questions, or actions. Okay. Um, they kind of pretty much pray that people like understand what they're saying and read between the lines, right? Because that's that informative communication again, right?
Yeah.
But INFPs know that they do need some type of structure outwardly, right? They understand that TE, they need that structure outwardly. They need to be able to structure things outwardly to get their values across, to change the world, to make things move in a more of a global standpoint. Um, but a lot of times they struggle with organization, order. Um, they may fail to like accurately assess the time that they need to do something. They
Hmm.
may struggle being productive, right? Um, that's a big thing, like with the productivity there, right? They really struggle with that. But also like their TE craves recognition for their intelligence, right? That's more of the basics there of T and Fear. Probably gave you guys a lot of information. Um, but that's pretty much it. They can be poor assessors of time, poor planners. Then they have FE opposing, so they can be stubborn about how others feel about things, especially when they're young, and resist being pulled in and being responsible for others' feelings. That's when they're young, right? But as they grow, that the hero function gets checked by the opposing personality, and they can become it can create some type of worry about harmony over time. In our Mr. Rogers video, you can see like Mr. Rogers was angry because of work, and he kind of took it out on the kids. But then afterwards, like that FE opposing came in and made him call the kid and apologize and all that.
Hmm.
So it
Hmm.
does come out in that way. Like they really care about that outwardly harmony.
Yeah. So they can sometimes feel guilty later on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
hmm
Because
Bad, bad.
because FE is checking that FI. It's like, as you go through these presentations, you should be aware that, as you grow, there's something checking the hero always, right? Like maybe when you're young, it's not there, and then as you develop, something comes in to check that hero. That's how you mature. So.
That's how you mature, and then that's just gonna, with the input of the opposing personality, it's gonna make your hero a lot better. All
Hmm.
right. So you got the critic here. So INFPs are always critical about the best path forward, right? But they see so many options that they can be very indecisive with this, right? It may cause them to worry they have made no real progress in their life, right? Or they may never find what they're looking for in life, right? That anti-critic's coming out, right? It can put a damper on plans for the future with negative thoughts of how events will turn out, right? That's the anti-critic that, like I said in another video, I can always tell it's anti-critic when I get one of them saying, Mercer, man, what's the future of the group, man? Shut up, shut up.
Yeah.
Just stay here and listen to me, man. Just stay here and listen to me. Mercer got this. So you'll see that a lot with them, right? Because they
Hmm.
worry about like the best path forward.
Yeah.
As somebody like me, I'm pretty strong with the best path forward. As he tricks you, they're completely oblivious to the moment, right? They can be clumsy, right? It could be very hard for them to participate in sports or athletics. Might be the reason why Christian dad didn't get into athletics or anything, or didn't want to be part of it, because it's something they're unaware of, right? They just don't understand why things aren't clicking. But the truth is they're just disconnected from the things around them,
Well,
right?
but my dad is a pretty good surfer though, so I'll say that.
Yeah.
You know, he found a sport for him, but when he was younger, he was more into the arts than athletics. It didn't come like naturally as a want, you know, until later on. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you'll see a lot of INFPs actually get pretty good at a lot of like things like Michael Jackson, right? But a lot of that stuff is choreographed, right? So that if you can practice it, you can do it. But you won't see them doing like crazy ass Iron Man gauntlets. That's probably an INFP's worst nightmare, right? An Iron Man or some shit where they gotta, crawl over this, go into this, jump over this, that would be like a worst case nightmare for them, because of SC Trickster here. So TI Demon here with the INFPs, they're unconcerned with logical consistencies and understanding on a deeper sense, right? They don't really care about that, because in their life, it's all about what they value. And weirdly about people's brains, it's like the hero and the demon, like for some reason they believe that they can't do both, right? But you can do both, right? But like a lot of times, what you value may not be logical, right? And INFP is going to say, fuck the logic. It's all about what I value, right? So they can see this as a pest to get in their way, right? So like for instance, I hate to throw my best friend out there, but whenever I talk to my best friend, she never asks me why about anything. We just talk, right? And when I talk to like Christian on INTP, they're always asking me why, because they're TI hero. But TI demon doesn't really care about that. That's not important. It's about how you feel. It's about being congruent with yourself, and that's not always logical. But they can also be very good at it if they value the truth. Okay. A lot of times you can see some INFPs that will value the truth, and they can be pretty good with it, pretty good philosophers and whatnot. All right,
okay.
Christian.
All right, so here we go. We're going into TE grip. Now, remember the grips show up when the hero basically needs to take a break because it was stressed for whatever reason. So when FI needs a break, most likely when the INFP's emotions overwhelm them and they feel like they need to do something right away. Okay, they go into TE grip. Okay, now remember there's variations of these grips. We got the short-term grip first. Okay, so what happens when you go into short-term grip happens when the INFP is overwhelmed by emotions and the conviction that something isn't right. So their value system their inner value system is tested. Okay. They're unsure how to express this conviction to others, so the INFP will blow up. Certain that there's a wrong that must be righted. They will express offense, indignation, and anger. This is when the INFP will become uncharacteristically aggressive, sometimes even violent. Okay, so for example, my dad, he rarely gets angry. Usually he gets angry when he feels like a value has been broken, for example, or let's say I behave in a way that his value system doesn't agree with. I've seen him angry at myself. He's like, well, like I said, Christian, we didn't raise you to be that way. And he gets angry. And you can see like he might start like, moving things around aggressively or something. And it's not like the usual. Usually he's very chill, he's very reserved. But you can see the anger come out in those instances. And as he gets older, also, we notice this more. Like in the outside world, right? Like when somebody, let's say he's trying to buy something and the customer service is like he's being disrespectful or something, like the guy towards him, then he could get like this because it's like violating his value system. He feels like people should be nice to each other, so he gets angry and you could see it.
And I'll say one thing.
Mhm.
It's kind of like what I said earlier. Like they believe as though what they value, everyone should value, right? So
Right.
you're breaking value norm for them. I could tell you straight up, like you with my best friend, she don't play. Like you make her feel some type of way. Let's say she go to a restaurant, she gonna leave you a nasty ass review.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Mm-hmm.
She gonna leave your ass a nasty ass review. And I never forget, like, especially like, let's say if I feel a certain way about something, she's like, "You want me to do it?" I'm like, "Man, you forget," like they get so angry about it. I'm like, dude, like it's like crazy. I'm like, maybe I should sue them or something. Like I'm like, whoa,
Yeah,
calm down. But
it's like an indignation, like how dare you operate in a way that doesn't align with my values, right? But remember, they're inner, like no one knows your values, but because you violated them, they go into this TE grip and they have to show it by moving aggressively. You know what I mean? But anyways, let's go on to the next one. We got long term grip. When there's a nagging feeling that INFP is trying to get away from, they choose distractions as an outlet. It could be working all the time, hyper focusing on projects, and trying to make something happen, especially that thing is not healthy. For example, INFP in an unhappy marriage may turn to an unrequited relationship as a project. The desire is not to cheat on their spouse, the desire is to distract themselves with scheming and strategizing. Okay, so this was not very commonly present in my house, but my dad is a graphic designer, so a lot of times he would like bury himself in the projects, or I guess when he was stressed or anything like that. That's as much as I saw this happen in my household. Um, but yeah, they just sink themselves into projects as an outlet. They choose a distraction. It could be like surfing or art. For my father, for example.
yeah, I mean, it kind of seems as though like they basically become an ENTJ or ESTJ, right? They take on that workaholic mentality. Got to get things done. Got to be done. Got to take my mind off of my internal world. Okay, I got to be doing something. I got to be busy. I'm in an uncomfortable situation, and this to take my mind off of it. Just TE.
Hmm.
Right. So
And then finally, habitual grip. A gripped INFP may use manipulative behavior. They'll exploit their emotional aikido to seed stress, anxiety, and other negative emotions in other people, hoping to force them into act on the INFP's behalf. Unable to inspire others to stay motivated with healthy convictions, the INFP lacks the ability to meet their own needs and must continue to manipulate others. Now, this I don't have much experience with, so Mercer, if you want to take that over.
yeah, I don't really see this much because my best friend is actually pretty healthy. I think Cody's pretty healthy as well, Adam as well. But there are some INFPs out there that probably aren't as healthy as them and may succumb to doing dirtier things. This might be more in the shadow type realm of things to be doing. But there is a saying about INFPs going treacherous, right? My best friend always said, "Don't make me go treacherous INFP on you," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." I
I,
gotta let me take anything she say serious.
my opinion of this is like it's pretty hard to get INFPs to just feel bad in general because like I said, like that FI in the hero spot is almost like they have their inner value system. If they feel good about themselves based on that system, then they're pretty much good. And then like because they have that in the child spot, that comfort. What'd you say, Mercer?
Oh, comfort, go for it.
Yeah, because they have that comfort feeling, it's almost like as long as you don't shake the boat too much, like then they're pretty much good. So I could see habitual grit being hard to get to for INFPs, but
Mhm.
that's my opinion. Like that's not based on literature. That's just what I think. Just
I just think it's sometimes may manifest because the INFP can't get to do the things in the world that they want to do, right? Because of the weaker SE and the weaker TE, right? So they could actually feel the need to actually want to manipulate people, or a lot of people say thought manipulation, right? Um, but that's maybe one of the things they go for because they don't have the SE or the TE, right? Feel like they're unheard or they not be listened to or anything like that, taken serious or whatnot. So they may go to a more informative route to get what they want, right? Because
Right.
there's an outcome they're shooting for. Okay. And so this is the best way for INFPs to use TE, right? To avoid grips, you want to regularly exercise your inferior function, right? So you want to give yourself a break from the introspection, right? Get away from your FI. Try to get in reality for a little bit. So what I think you should do is work on small projects that allow you to marshal resources and time, right? So think about what an ENTJ would be doing. Think about what an ESTJ would do, and just set little small projects and build that like a muscle, right? If you may just start with a small task that you give yourself to do, but over time you give yourself bigger and bigger tasks to do, and that's going to strengthen your TE, right? And basically, this is just small things that let you work on being effective, right? Because you don't want to just be thrown out into the water and have to be effective, and you ain't really build up the muscle because that inferior is going to show. You're gonna panic. You're gonna freak the fuck out. You're gonna create so much worry in yourself, so much shame, so much doubt, all that type of stuff. So you do this small thing, and um, when those situations do come, you can flex that inferior function. Take time to play strategy games, man. Like that's just gonna help you guys. Generally speaking, from a logical perspective, it's also gonna help you with being effective as well. So like I always recommend playing chess, right? For anybody, it just is what it is. Try to build systems to adhere towards, right? Because like myself, I can build a system about anything, right? So the first thing that if something happens to me, I'm like the first thing my brain thinks about is I need to create a system so that doesn't happen again, right? So you can do the same thing for your life. Like if you're having a specific problem in your life, right? You go, okay, I'm gonna build a system so I don't have to do this anymore, or I'm gonna build a system so like I get more control over that. Because that's ultimately just how my brain works. It's like, okay, if I create a system here, I get more control over it, right? So you guys can do the same thing. Work small and then gradually build yourself up. Um, Goal over time is to use methods to better control the environment in your lives, right? Because you guys have that rich inner world that we don't have, but you struggle with things outside. So learn to check the facts from multiple sources that align with your beliefs, okay, guys? It's not okay to just believe anything. Make sure you check multiple sources because you're not really a strong TE and TI user. So multiple sources will make sure that your information and your beliefs are valid, right? You don't want to just like have a belief and have somebody rip it apart.
Yeah, and
It's
I think you got to be careful too, because like I feel like INFPs could struggle with control just because they kind of live in that inner comfort and world. So like things might be happening outside that's outside of their control, and it's hard for them to assert themselves and kind of change direction and enact change in the real sense, because inside they feel good. It's almost like, okay, as long as I'm comfortable and good, then I don't need to really do much, I feel. So sometimes their life can take different turns because it's pulling them certain ways, and it's hard for them to like take the reins over their own life, I think. So
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Always check your reasoning with others for validity, right? Go to somebody you think is a very like knowledgeable person, and always kind of like bounce your ideas off them. Make sure that your beliefs are valid, that they are something that is actually practical a lot of times. Because sometimes you could be in Narnia with any thinking about this. No one needs a credit system, like Christian said earlier. Um, but then you got to think about all the people that take advantage of that and stuff of that. So look to overall improve effectiveness, right? And you can always do what my best friend did is adopt the ENTJ best friend to help with implementation, time management, and spatial organizations. Um, when we like maybe 6, 7 years ago, I was a lot harder on her. Like, you need to be doing this, you need to be reading these books. I literally beat stocks into her head. Like it was like quiz time. Like motherfucker, why you don't understand this? Like I beat stocks into her head. I beat self improvement into her head. Like she has like my Audible password, and it's like, yo, you need to be on there. You need to be finishing this book. And if I tell you to read something, guess what? Mercer got pop quiz, right? And if you start struggling, then I'm gonna tell you, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Go back, you know. So I was very hard, and she'd always say, "You're harder on me than anybody else." Like, but at the same time, she was able to develop, and like now she laughs because she said, "People think I'm a boss woman," right? She said, "It's just everything. It's just everything that you taught me."
Right.
Right? Everything that she learned from me, you know, because when she goes to talk to somebody, she knows the ins and the outs of stocks. Yeah, I beat that shit in the fucking head. Like, you should be able to read a balance sheet. And even why you don't get this balance sheet. Like, what is this balance sheet saying? Like, this, you know, just like that. But at the end of the day, she's a self-sufficient person that can stocks, and she can talk to anybody about stocks. Um, and she's doing really fucking good in stocks. So shout out to her. But the time management, she's always gonna struggle with that, you know. I'm always gonna ask, like, yo, what the fuck? Like, why did shit take you so long? God damn, man, you gonna fire me? I like, you know, like when she said fire, we just joke around saying fire me. Like, basically, I'm gonna take over the fucking project because you're doing it too fucking slow. But at the end of the day, she does have a perfectionist. So I'll take any outcome. While my best friend, she has to take that perfect outcome. It has to be perfect, right? I'll take an outcome and move the fuck on. Like, it's good enough. But she wants it to be perfect. So that can fuck up that time management, okay, and assessing the time needed for a task. But like I say, adopt the ESTJ or ENTJ, and um, you know, they can help you improve on your TE.
All right.
Anything you want to say, Christian?
No. Move on. Let's go.
All right, Chris, you take
All
that.
right, so we got the INFP subtypes. Just as a reminder, subtypes are types within a type based on brain chemistry, etc. So we got the dominant high testosterone version. An example of that might be Bernie Sanders, more confident, driven, more often in leader roles. As we know, Bernie Sanders has been a career politician. Then we got the creative types, more exploratory, more social, often in rebel roles. Mercer describes these as the most rebellious of each type. Okay, higher levels of dopamine. Example of this would be David Bowie, John Lennon, and Michael Jackson. Then we got the normalizing types. That's the most common type. More conventional, dedicated, more often in support roles. Higher levels of serotonin. We got Robert Greene. And finally, we got the harmonizing types. More empathic and reflective. For example, Mr. Rogers usually have higher estrogen.
All right. So, the one thing you guys need to understand as an INFP is because of your type, you're naturally gonna feel like you're more harmonizing than you are, but that's just how INFPs are overall, right? So, like, let's say for instance, you take an ENTJ, like ENTJ is just a natural dominant type, right? But you also have to break that down into types, right? Not everyone's gonna fit there into certain, things because it just is what it is. So always remember that, like when you're looking at the subtypes, it's like, okay, what is my type, right? And if I was to put myself in 100 of my type, where would I belong?
Right.
I mixed up 100 of them, right? Do you think you'd be over there with like John Lennon, David Bowie, and Michael Jackson? Okay, then you belong in the creative class. If you believe you'd be in the Bernie Sanders, Jacob Rothschild, right, controlling the world, Bernie Sanders has been in politics for a very long time, taking leadership roles. There are INFP CEOs, so those type will be more in the dominant. That doesn't mean they're gonna be fucking big and strong and broady like me, right? Because we have a different type, right? And INFP is a squishier type, right? So overall, their dominant INFP isn't gonna be like fucking Mercer, okay? It is what it is. Like my type in itself is a dominant type. Their type is more of a, squishier, don't like to be, heard and stuff like that. So it's important to realize that.
Right.
And as always, guys, these are our sources that we got all of our information from. Highly recommend you pick up these books. We'll take your knowledge to the next level.
Now we go to the post presentation segment where we answer questions about from some INFPs. So you got the questions, Mercy?
Well, I got one. Says, how do you get past your limiting values, right? An INFP asked me, how do you get past your limited values? And I say, what you need to do is you need to work on your any parent, right? You need to get out in the world. You need to see the world. You need to see different cultures, right? Because you might see something that changes your view on something, right?
Mm-hmm.
It may make you more open-minded, and your values may change based on what you see in one culture versus another, versus like maybe meeting new people and stuff. One of my friends, Leon, he's always on the move, right? He's always like doing stuff. I think he was in South America for quite a bit doing a missionary work or something like that, right? That's going to help him build his FI because, he's getting those new experiences. He's seeing things from a different lens. And if you want to alter your values, that's what you're going to have to do.
Okay. I would say start reading and get some different sources, exercise that TE. It's going to allow you to mature, and also it's going to bleed into your value system, because as you expand your knowledge about morality, etc., you might discover that your values change over time. They won't stay the same. With more information comes growth. So
Yeah. I mean, I would talk about like some of the pitfalls as well. So like INFPs can have a problem with like rejecting people because they don't align with their values, right? That or on the selfish reasons, right? That's not going to help you as an INFP, right? You should be more open-minded and give people benefit of the doubt. Or maybe you talk to them about it, right? You never know, like, you guys are very good at bridging the gap with people, right? There's always an underlying message going on with somebody else, right? How can I learn to better control and understand my emotions, right? I don't think I can help you there.
okay, repeat the question. How can I learn how
How
to
can I
understand?
learn to better control and understand my emotions? Right. I can't really help you there, bro.
How to better control
I'm
and
not that great. Neither is Christians.
okay, how to control and better understand my emotions. I would say this goes beyond type in a way. This advice I could give to anybody: try to find more specific language to describe your emotions. For example, when I talk to Mercer, sometimes he'll say like, "Oh, that made me feel weird," right? And I'm just like, okay, it didn't make you feel weird. It made you feel something else, more specific. Like, what did it actually make you feel? He's like, oh, well, it made me feel angry because of this, that, right? So I would say if you don't understand your emotions, is because you're not using specific enough language. Okay. I would say that add more specific language to describe what you're feeling is going to help you process it, internalize it more, and understand where it's coming from. It's
Yeah,
good.
yeah. I mean, that's good. I mean, Christians got on my ass about that all the time because I'm always like, oh, this shit make me feel weird, or this shit make me feel angry. Like it's just like my vocabulary when it comes to my feelings is so limited, right? But if you grow your vocabulary, you'll be able to do better with that.
Mm-hmm.
He says, as an artist, I always want to make my projects look as good as they can, but the road to perfection affects the final product, as most of the time it will take me longer to finish, and at the end, I'm not satisfied. So, like, my thing with that is like sometimes because you guys are so attached to the outcome, you got to detach from that and just take any kind of win that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Any win that you can get is better than no win at all. Um, and just understanding like it's on its way to perfection. Like the first time you do something, you're gonna suck at it. That's just reality. No one's really good at anything they start the first time, and if they are good, then there's skills that translated over to that. So, for instance, when Christian started wrestling, right, he had done martial arts his whole life, right. So when he started wrestling, he's beating the shit out of a whole bunch of kids. But the truth of the matter, he thought like he was a legend, like, oh my God, I'm so good at this, I'm a natural. But the truth was the skills just translated over from martial arts. So you got to
Bro,
remember that as well.
I didn't
And it
think
takes hours.
I didn't think I was a legend. But anyways, yeah,
Fuck, bro, shut up.
yeah.
But it takes like there's no clock on someone's head that tells you how long they've been doing something. And that's the biggest thing that people don't realize. It's like whenever you see somebody, whether even it comes to like typing people, right? There's a clock on my forehead that says I've done it for so many hours, right? You may have done it for like 100 hours, but you haven't done as many hours as me. So you may think I'm so much better than you, but the truth is there's a clock, and my clock is way farther ahead than yours. And to understand that to get to the expert level, you're gonna have to put out a lot of shitty shit.
Yeah.
Christian tells me that all the time.
Yeah. And funny enough, I just made a video about this on my personal channel. I think the problem with outcome based types is that because you're focusing on the outcome so hard, like the failures hit harder. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, and that's why you're so like nervous about that, like just putting it out there. You feel like if it doesn't hit hard or if it's not good enough, like it's a complete failure. But like Mercer said, when you focus on the progression aspect of it, meaning like this project is just a step to the big project, like the first steps, even if they're bad, is just adding to experience, adding to skills that later on will help you build the perfect project you're looking for. So just you got to change your perspective and go into more of a progression mindset and say, okay, this one small project is just a step on the way to that big project. Okay. And then that's going to help you actually release something. And also, I would say put in an effective system or a time constraint. Like, okay, I have this amount of time to release this project. Good or bad, at the end of that time, that project should be released.
Mhm.
That way you're not stuck on the same project for a long time when you should have already released 2 or 3 projects already. So
And another thing is like you got to get away from that TE and failure, because you kind of care about like what other people are gonna think about like this project or anything like that. My thing is fuck these motherfuckers. They're lucky to be getting anything, right? That's always been my mindset to anything. Christian laughs at it, but like that's how I feel about anything. Like people are lucky to get any fucking thing.
right.
So you got to shift your mindset that you are providing them something. It is what it is. He says, how can I develop abstract ideas to reality? I have a great amount of ideas in my head, but I find very hard to make them reality. Maybe I maybe I am lazy. I blame it on time. Okay. So get abstract ideas into reality. You're gonna have to focus more on systematizing a lot of things, right? That and working on a timeable schedule to on that project, right? Whatever the idea is, and noticing what's practical and what's not practical, right? Because some things are easier to bring in reality, and some things are a lot harder. Like some things may take you an entire lifetime, and some things may take you a year or 6 months or 2 months, right? So seeing which ones is actually practical, right? That might help a lot of times, because we know as an INFP, you guys can be in the Lulu land, right? Thinking any and everything can be possible, but there's a lot of work that is needed for everything, right? Um, and that time assessment, you guys are very weak at. So
Yeah, this goes back to the last question. It's kind of a similar question. Like Mercer said, put in a system, put in a time constraint, like a schedule will help you, because that way you have a limited amount of time to produce and release something. When you leave it unlimited and you leave it to your own devices, time can get away from you. You can almost postpone it indefinitely. Just say, okay, by the end of this week, this project will be posted or will be released. And then when you get on that schedule and it becomes a comfortable pattern for you, then you'll just get in the habit of it, and you could just produce at that rate. Putting in systems and schedules is going to help you a lot. So
yeah. I'll say another thing is just like, so sometimes you got to realize, and this is something that people should realize, is like everybody is like a different part of the puzzle, right? You may be the guy who can bring the ideas, and maybe somebody else is the person who brings those ideas into reality, right? So if that's more like what you're looking at, maybe you can talk to a person that you think will be interested in those ideas, right? and maybe you start some type of partnership or something, and you guys work together and you work on bringing that idea into fruition, right? Because like, hey, I got the ideas. You can figure it out and be productive and get it done. How about we just build a team here, right? So that can also help you, right? Just finding the right person, because we're all different pieces of a puzzle. And we can help each other. You just got to realize your strengths, right? And realize other people's strengths. And
Mm-hmm.
then with that, you can build a team, right? And then you can be put in the role that you need to be put in. And ultimately, you'll get the outcome that you want.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. It probably would be easier to work with someone who is a little more strict on on those time constraints, like okay, we need to release this by this time. And then I think the extra external pressure helps you because, it's just an extra, motivator to release projects. But when you're alone, it's almost like you can just convince yourself that you don't need to release it. So
mhm.
I think that would be helpful also working with someone uh you know who's operating on a time schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that's pretty much all I got. I mean, I think the INFPs are very wonderful people. They are some of the people that will believe in you before you believe in yourself, right?
Hmm.
Um, I'll never say, but I'll never not say this, but my best friend was like one of the first people that like was an actually outside person that believed in me. And honestly, like sometimes people do need people to believe in them, right?
Hmm.
So INFPs can really, get into that underdog's corner and, make you feel like anything is possible. You guys keep doing what you guys are doing. I always talk about that Jesus aura. When you're around an INFP, it feels like, everything is okay in that little bubble aura, right? They got that Jesus aura going down. Like they can do no wrong. Unless you got the treacherous INFPs. But a lot of times they're very good people and they just want to help people and they want to help humanity. So I think it's a pretty great type, but you guys just need to work on that TE. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah,
I think that's the key is to develop that T and put, so that you can enact change in the real sense. Like, don't stay comfortable in introspection. I would say that is the danger of being an INFP is that you can become comfortable with your values and your comfort and not enact the amount of change that you should enact on the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll say another thing is like I think that can help you guys. It's like, picking up tools, things and learning them, right? Trying to become an expert in that tool, whatever it is, whether it be software, whether it be like, fixing this or fixing that. Like that's just gonna help you guys with your frameworks, right? Your TI. And like that's just like it's just a framework that people build over time, right? Christian's very confident in his TI because he's been building it since he was a kid, right? So these little things like uh taking on tools and the things like that can help you with your underlying understanding underlying principles, right? For like getting better with like SE and stuff like that, you guys could like take yoga classes, maybe martial arts, maybe self-defense classes. That's just gonna build confidence, or go to the gym. Maybe you get a personal trainer. Maybe you're one of those people that need a personal trainer.
Hmm.
But overall, that's just gonna make you feel more confident in yourself and in your body and in your motion. And that's gonna, manifest different things, right? Um, but practice like troubleshooting things. Like don't run away from troubleshooting things. Try to analyze what's going on there. That's just gonna help you later on and build that TI framework or TE, stuff of that nature.
I think that's
And
all
if
we
not,
got. It's been great. Stay tuned for the next one. We're going to be coming with more presentations on the rest of the types, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.